Today on the MotoMan Podcast, we sit down with car YouTube personality Miles Branman, aka MilesPerHr, and talk about his recovery from a car accident that very well could have killed him.
At first, it was difficult to be excited about anything because I had to relearn how to walk, and cognitively, I could not grasp anything.
And then we talked about the habits that make him a successful YouTube personality even when life gets in the way.
What can I do consistently, to your point, and what can I do realistically?
Then we press on to the obvious discussion, the benefits of talking about cars for a living.
You get to live with something that you admire and something you desire and something you get to experience without having spent any of your own money.
And last, but certainly not least, we venture into the subject that is the elephant in the room, the wildest interactions we've had while filming our videos.
And the cops came and went and had a conversation with her like, are you on something?
So you are officially the first guest in this new studio. So
I'm waiting
welcome.
for my badge.
You know what? I actually can get you a challenge coin. Granted, it will be from Torrance PD.
Yeah.
We'll not say MotoMan, but Torrance PD.
Okay.
That might help a guy who's driving a demon.
I just want a token. Just give me a token so I can remember this forever.
Okay, we can do that. So I wanted to chat with you about the life of reviewing cars. And I don't know if people understand this. You and I have known each other for a very long time.
Yeah.
And how long have we known each other now?
It's got to be about 10 years.
At least 10 years.
Yeah.
And the reason why I wanted to have this conversation with you is because you have pivoted pretty significantly over the years.
Yeah.
So take us back. How did you start doing it? And then give us a description of what you do now.
Yeah. So in the beginning, I was an intern for Fastlane Daily, a now defunct automotive news channel that was expressly on YouTube. And so I wrote the scripts for that show, got connected to JF Musial, who was the executive producer for the show, through his then girlfriend, who was an alumni of Boston University. So through a professor, all that webbed into me getting to know JF, wrote the scripts for the show, and got to really have my introduction to the car world. While doing the scripts for the show, still was at Boston University, then graduated and pursued marketing. And after a while thought, I like this. I can see where the track's going to go with marketing, but I really want my own business. And so my dad had an idea for a food product because as a second career, he was pursuing culinary. And I said, okay, I'm going to leave Boston, come back to California where I was from and try to start this with you. And I did, and I knew nothing about the food industry. And so after a year and a half of just draining my resources and not really yielding anything, I had still been writing for Fastlane Daily, but Fastlane Daily was kind of on the way out. And so when I decided to be done with the food product business, FLD was also done around the same time. And I said, okay, I've got a choice. I can go back to marketing, or I can try to leverage the contacts I've made in the car world to pursue that. And so I did. I used the contacts and I got some freelance writing jobs. And so I wrote for Digital Trends, I wrote for Rob Report, I wrote for Auto News, I wrote for a variety of different car pubs. And I loved it. I was traveling the world. That's when I really got to know you well. This was in 2014. So yeah, that's been about 11 years. Doing the first drive events and just loving every second of it, absorbing the world of cars that I'd loved since I was a kid. And it was amazing. But after a while, I was sitting there going, I'm stressed out because I'm writing 10 different articles and I haven't slept, and my, girlfriend, who now is my wife, was just like barely ever seeing me because I'd come back from a trip and I was useless, And then I got hit by a drunk driver on my motorcycle sitting at a stoplight, and that was the wake-up call from God to go, hey, what's more important, what you're trying to pursue over here or your relationship with me? And I said, my relationship with you is more important. He said, okay, great. Would you like to try something different? And I said, yes. And so then he said, why don't you start your own thing?
It's funny, he has a way of doing that.
He really does.
It's almost comical. There's a
It's comical in hindsight.
it's very comical.
In the moment, you're
it's
like,
kind
"Oh,
of like
yeah."
Old Testament scripture of man makes plan and God laughs.
Yeah.
And God laughed at you pretty hard.
He
in that
sure did.
case. And correct me if I'm wrong, you were pretty early in your relationship with your now wife, then girlfriend.
5 months married.
Yeah.
I mean,
Till death do us part.
wow, did she
Sickness
get
and
attached.
health. Yeah.
So what was going through your brain at that point? You and I, this is, most people know that we've had a very similar
Yep.
run in that area as well.
Yep.
I mean, it took me a while to figure it out as well. What are you thinking business-wise while you're laying there basically in traction?
Well, so at first it was difficult to be excited about anything because I had to relearn how to walk, and cognitively I could not grasp anything. I couldn't sit down and write anything. I couldn't actually go outside because my brain was overstimulated by everything. So I'll give you an example. I'd go to a grocery store and where your brain typically filters out the lights, the people, the stuff you're gonna buy to just focus on the things you need to do, mine would pick up on all the minute details of anything and quickly overwhelm me. So I wasn't able to do anything. And I also in that time lost my passion for just about everything, including cars. And so I didn't have any interest in doing anything for at least 6 months. And then God slowly brought back an interest in cars, an interest in writing, an interest in eventually making videos. Little things like I would ride in the passenger seat of cars and I would go, oh, that was really fun. You know, I enjoyed the speed right there. Or if it was a convertible, which my friend had, and he'd bring me out just to like make me feel alive again. I would just feel the wind in my face. Little things like that would bring me back to a desire to do something with cars again. And then eventually I would be journaling, and at first my writing was just gibberish. I just write stream of consciousness things, but eventually I started to kind of focus on getting some syntax and getting some structure into my art writing, and then just the joy for that came back too. But it was not all at once.
I want to bring up a point here, and I think this is somewhat related to our conversation. Talk about journaling. Is that something you still do?
I do still journal, yeah. Not as frequently as I would like, but yeah.
So I'm a big believer in you're only as good as your routines. Like people that say a guy could be successful in the NFL, a guy could be a successful pilot, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You don't wake up doing that. You
Yeah.
wake up with a series of very small actions consistently.
Yeah.
And it gets you to that point.
Yep.
So like, what are some consistent actions you're doing today that kind of lead you to being miles per hour?
I have a pretty, so when I had kids, everything was thrown into flux and I had to relearn and create new.
2 kids?
2 kids, yeah.
And
2 girls.
age?
4 and 2. And each were different. Each had different needs, some stronger than others. But it threw my routines in flux, and I had to relearn, okay, what can I do consistently, to your point, and what can I do realistically? So now as the 2-year-old has started to let us sleep, because being sleep deprived, my quality of work/work product, producing anything was just out the window. But now I take the time to prep considerably for whatever vehicle I'm doing. And now with the style of content I'm making, I work on the story. It's not necessarily just about the facts and figures of the car. It's about, hey, what story can I tell with this? And that, as you said, I made a shift. That has been the recent shift, and that's what I get so excited about now. But a story doesn't, some things can happen organically, and that's awesome. But unless I have a framework for what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go in and I guess I'll just default to the same things I always do, and then it's just boring to watch. So for me, it's prepping, not just for the car, but prepping for what adventure I wanna have with the car, with my family, without my family, whatever.
So let's step back there for a minute, because there's a lot of moving parts. There was you recovering from a life-threatening accident.
Yeah.
A newlywed, effectively.
Yeah.
And still no children at that point. Did the idea of pivoting the types of, really the type of review style you were doing, did it come from then, or did it come from, I'm looking at analytics, or did it come from like, oh my God, I am just sick of doing it this way?
All the above.
So it didn't happen right after the accident
No.
when you were getting back up to speed.
Well, so as I was getting back up to speed, it was that moment of going, hey, God, I want to do my own thing. And I'm going, hey, do it. And then deciding what that was going to look like, because I knew how to write articles and I wasn't feeling like I want to write articles. I wanted to make videos. And I was looking around in the car world at what videos were the most compelling. And as I just shared with you, I was just getting that passion for cars again. And so I went to the touch points of cars that really made me feel most alive. And that was immersing myself in the driving experience. At first a passenger and then the driver again. And so I discovered POV videos. At the time, I think it was just Chris Amos, the Topher, who was doing POV along with then shortly after Tedward.
How long ago was this?
So let's see, the accident was April 2019. So it's been 6 years. We're just coming up to it.
Wait a minute. We'll just stop there for a minute.
Yeah.
I was not aware of that. Our accidents are less than a year apart.
Yeah. I forgot yours was
can't
so
believe
soon
that.
after.
Yeah, because you were April of 19. I was January of 20.
That's
I didn't
super
realize
close.
that until this very moment.
Yeah. I thought yours, for whatever reason, was at least 1.5 to 2 years after mine.
Wow. Brothers in Christ and brothers in accident.
Absolutely. I'm now remembering, because the first time I saw you after your accident, I had recovered to the degree that I could actually. So how long did it take you to get back on your feet to going to some level of events?
Events?
Events.
Well, you have to also remember, my accident was cloaked in the craziness of the virus. So I got
that's
2
right.
extra months of quarantine over you guys.
Yeah.
I was in the hospital January 8th.
Yeah.
And when I started to walk again, get out of the wheelchair,
Yeah.
the world shut down. So there, I mean, if the clear answer is the next event was like 1.5 years later.
Yeah, that's why. That's why I thought your accident was so
Yeah.
much further away, was because the next time I saw you was all that gap of time had been significant.
Yeah.
Boy, I've lost.
But that brings up a good point.
Yeah.
So last time we got together, which you guys should watch the episode, we did kind of the same thing, but more about my life history, my Batman origin story in his demon.
Yeah.
Which is very odd. And I remember clearly we went to lunch after that, and you were like, I would rather stay at home, write a really compelling story, and do the shoot here than go on programs.
Yep.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't really see you on programs anymore.
I go to one every 2 months.
Yeah.
About.
Now, tell me the why.
The reason why I would go on a program, period, or why I don't want to go on programs anymore.
Well, actually, for the audience, tell the audience what the program is, why most outlets go, and then why you don't go.
Okay. So first drive program is typically, although some automakers are really drag their feet, typically American automakers, when the car is already in a dealership.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's anyone's first chance to experience a vehicle. And so it's appealing because we get to release content before the dealership accessed folks get to release their content, and therefore YouTube is going to be, hey, excited about these pieces of content. So it's a good chance to get that first dib. And because all media are held to an embargo, and so we all release it at the same time, so it's an even playing field. Whereas if I went and got the car independently and published something, it would just, it kind of looks bad. So that's why the first drives are attractive. But you're typically, unless it's here in Southern California, which does happen quite often, you're typically flying to the event, you're eating their food, you're schmoozing, which is fun, but like, you know, it takes you out of and away from your families or your routines. And typically, if you're producing content with any regularity, it's taking you out of that to go do one video with that first drive. But yeah, the first drives are exciting because they typically tailor the experience to the vehicle. If you're going to drive a track car, you're going to drive it on track. And if you're going to drive a minivan, you're going to drive it in suburbia. Whereas, you know, at home, you may not have access to a track, or you may only have the car for a short period of time, or what have you. So that's what a first drive is.
So then that also answers the why someone would go.
Yes.
Why don't you go to as many?
I don't go to as many anymore 2 reasons. One, my wife also works, and if I'm going to something, that means she is not able to produce her content. 3 reasons then, I guess. The second reason is I like spending time with my family, and being away from them on a trip is time that I'm missing out on developments, activities, memories with them. So I don't love that as much. And then the third reason is because I think at this point in time, I can make a much more compelling story and frankly, in many cases, a better performing video at home.
Even though you're getting later access to the car.
Yeah. Which has been a big shift.
That's a huge shift.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm getting at this.
Yeah.
Because a little bit inside baseball here, those first share opportunities, especially like the crazy international ones,
Yeah.
the one where you're flying over to wherever, Spain, to drive the new AMG, whatever.
Yeah.
Those are generally the ones that do the best in terms of the embargoes.
Right.
Like those, you get there, you're gunning against maybe 5 other video outlets,
Yeah.
at least in the US.
Yeah.
And generally those, they're worth your time.
Yeah.
Because I look at it as numbers. I look at it as the first thing I do when I get an invite is what's the search volume on the car?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Google Trends.
I love Aston Martins.
Yeah.
I love driving McLaren 765 LTs.
Yeah.
The worst natural search traffic on the planet.
Yeah. But even those numbers are skewed sometimes. Have you ever experienced that where you're like a thing that gets no search volume just blows up on YouTube?
I've actually never experienced that.
I've experienced it at least a handful of times.
With what? Like, give me an example of a car.
Aston Martins.
Wow.
To your point. Like Aston Martins, historically for me.
I disagree with you. I
Really?
think that's you telling the story. I think that's a you thing.
Okay. Well, thank you.
That's totally the shirts. Because who else drives an Aston Martin with a hat and a GoPro and gets French fries in the car? Like seriously, who else?
Fair. I think it was fish. I think it was fish tacos last time. But yeah, I get your point. Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. Okay.
And those do well.
Yeah.
But you know what? Not historically, starting to do very poorly from and starting to pull back from the the Toyota Palooza type stuff. Come and drive the new 4Runner
Yeah.
with 50 other just video.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, we're only going to give you come and drive the new 4Runner and 4 other cars that are important at the same time, and you have like 9 hours to do it.
Yeah.
Thanks, but no, that doesn't work. And they don't, like, the only time that ever worked for me was like the GR Corolla.
Yeah.
Because for my audience, crazy kind of car.
Yeah.
Crazy because they don't exist anymore.
Sure.
So what about the story? What are you doing to prep for the story? Because you drive everything from, I love you, man, but you drive minivans, and I can't bring myself to drive a minivan. So you drive minivans, but you also, take your wife in a Ferrari Purosangue, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
How do you develop a story to make a minivan interesting?
I mean, I have the cheat code of kids, and the kids can dictate the storyline of a minivan very well. Their kids' birthday parties, their family trips that we want to go take, and that kind of just lets me create a story around a vehicle that I may otherwise not be super interested in. I'll give you an example. Not a minivan, but the Chevy Suburban. I did go to the first drive event for that, but it wasn't. It was like a lifestyle wave of the new Chevy Suburban and new Chevy Tahoe. That was a family trip that Chevy brought us out to. So they brought out Christina and myself, we brought our kids, and then we got to let that be the story as us driving around. We went to Waco, we went to Dallas.
Was it an ATF tour? Was that it?
What's that?
Was it an ATF tour?
It wasn't. It wasn't.
Maybe I just dated myself.
It was just them going, hey, we want to give you guys a chance to take a little road trip in cars.
This is a great, are you a country music guy?
I'm not. I'm not. I mean, like, I don't
Wade
dislike
Bowen
country
does
music.
a music festival in Waco every year.
Okay.
Anyway, go on.
I loved Waco. I had a really good time.
Yeah, it's in E-Town. Did you
But
see Joanna, Chip and Joanna while you
I
were there?
didn't see them out there. I did go to their food.
Magnolia, whatever.
Yes, Magnolia Market. That was awesome. But yeah, that created the story for us. So that one I needed less of a script, if you will. And I don't script things out, but I bullet point like what I'm going to do. That was less of that and more organic. Hey, this
How much
came
time are you taking to script something out?
So I'll do maybe 45 minutes of prepping details of the car, and then potentially an hour and a half to 2 hours to think through all the things I want to do with the car. And that has, because I'm spending more time on that, I have a little less time to do quite as many videos. And so I went down from a video every single day at the very initial after the accident POV days to 2 videos a week. Then I'm probably leaning into 1 video a week now.
Full video.
Full video.
And how many shorts are you putting out?
1 to 2 a day.
Wow. But you have a guy that's pulling those
I got a guy
full
who's
videos.
cutting those up for me.
You got a guy.
I got a guy, yeah.
Okay, so let's step back at something very important that differentiates you. You say you got a cheat code. I would say there's only one other person that I know that does this cheat code thing, and that's Micah.
Yeah.
Kiddo Musio. And we've literally watched her grow up.
I
Like
know,
she was
that's been
this,
crazy.
and now she's like this.
Yeah.
She's going to be driving soon, kind
Yeah.
of thing. Was there a discussion that you and your wife had? Well, A, do I want my wife in the videos, number one?
Yeah.
And then obviously the next question after that, a couple of years, obviously, do we want to put our kids in front of the camera? How did that go?
If you see my stuff, my kids are never shown.
I just see a car seat.
Their faces are never shown. And that was a conversation my wife and I had. We wanted to, and this is no judgment of Micah for doing that, everything's different for each family. For us, we decided we want to let our kids decide when they're 18, or whenever they can think for themselves, that they want to be public facing. But that's their decision. That's not something we wanted to make for them. So we said they can be in the videos, and my 4-year-old is hilarious. Maybe it's just to me, but I think she's super funny, and the comments that she makes about cars it's just gold.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to let her be in the videos because she wants to now, but I didn't want to show her face until she is at an age where she can make that decision for herself.
She's particularly vocal in drive-thrus.
And acceleration runs. She calls them blast-offs. I love it. It's so much fun.
That, I'll never forget Micah's C8 video.
I don't think I saw it.
He had the daughter in the passenger seat.
Oh.
She's on camera.
Yeah.
And I think any car guy seeing that video, like you could get the guy who absolutely never wants children.
Yeah.
He sees that video like, I got to get married tomorrow and have me some kids. The joy on her face was incredible.
Yeah.
But I gotta believe there has to be like am I doing the right thing here?
Yeah.
And is that something that ever concerns you?
Yeah, I think it would concern me more if I was showing their faces. But the fact that I can keep their privacy, and I'm also not going to reveal details where they go to school, anything that could ever be tied back to them. People know their names and people know their ages, but they don't know their faces.
Let's go in an opposite direction. It's not just your kids or your wife.
Yeah.
Mom.
Mom's a fully grown woman. Mom can decide for herself, and she loves cars. And
Yeah, she does. Like the G-Wagon with the door handles and everything.
yeah, no, she loves cars, and it's funny because like I think a lot of car guys get the car guy gene or interest perhaps from their dads. For me, it was my mom. My dad did have a couple Corvettes growing up, but that was more like him just trying to relive some glory days.
Yeah.
And not so much he was an enthusiast. He liked driving quickly, but he wasn't like an enthusiast about the cars. My mom had some interesting cars in her history and really appreciated them. And so she prompted an interest in me. And that's why now when I have the access to the cars that I've always dreamed of, she loves to go along for a ride. And we love spending time together. So she says, hey, any chance to have coffee with you is great. Oh, by the way, we're going to drive a new 911. Heck yeah. She's all down for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the drives a little bit.
Yeah.
What, aside from like a lifestyle drive,
Yeah.
what a drive would interest you? What would you say, okay, I'm going to put aside 3 days, even though I would get more videos. What attributes go into a drive that works for you?
I think the ones where I couldn't recreate the situation myself. So I guess in theory I can recreate track time with the car, but as you know, getting the permission of the automakers to do that is very difficult. So if they've got the tires and they've got the, they've given you the thumbs up to take a Corvette Z06 on a racetrack for
And
the
the
first
ambulance.
drive. Yeah, ambulance if you needed.
It's $5,000. $5,000 a day for the ambulance to sit there.
Just to sit there, yeah. No, so I don't have the budget for that. So them saying, we can bring you on this program, I say yes to those who always wanted to do these kind of things. So I'll say yes to something like that. I'll say yes to an experience that would be either expensive or just impossible for me to recreate. Those are the two scenarios.
Okay, so now let's go back to the switch of I'm doing regular views to I'm doing POV.
Yeah.
If you look back, I remember when you first switched to POV.
Yeah.
And then you look at what you're doing today. It's more evolved. I feel like it's more a vlog now.
Yeah.
Than it was about I'm going to push that button.
Yes.
What was it? How did that go? Like, how did that come about?
So, I mean, I can go back to when I was a sports broadcaster for our college sports network. I really enjoyed talking to the camera. I felt like I was talking to other people and it animated me. And so when I was doing the point of view stuff, it was fun because I knew I was creating content that was immersive, because that's the stuff that first attracted me to the Topher's videos. I was like, man, I'm getting to experience this car in a way I never have before. I'm driving it via him. So that was fun, but I didn't have the element of engagement that comes from talking to a camera. And yet I didn't just want to have the camera over there like so many automotive creators are doing. And so I hybridized the two. And in that way, I could get that I have a camera here, I'm talking to someone, but I still have the immersion factor, especially at the times that are most critical. Canyon road driving, all that kind of stuff. You don't want to see me at those times. You want to see driving the car. So that's when I hybridized the two, and that's also where I felt a little more of my personality could come out.
Now let's talk about the gear.
Yeah.
I'm broken about this. Like I'm wedded to this.
We've got some very nice gear right now.
I got a car over there and cameras, which is stupid if you really think about it. What gear are you using?
I have the most rudimentary setup. I have a $15 baseball cap. I have a $20 backpack clip, and I have a $250 GoPro Mini. That's the POV setup. The cabin cam is another $250 GoPro mounted on a $25 suction cup.
And you're shooting all your own stuff.
Yep.
But you're not editing your stuff.
I'm not editing my stuff. Yeah, I do have a guy. Got another guy.
You got a guy
who's editing my stuff, and I'm grateful for that because I actually don't mind editing, but doing the edits takes time away from family and from creating good content.
Yeah, I'm learning that. I've learned that the hard way.
It's hard when you're perfectionists, like I think you and I are.
I know. It's a disease. I've realized it's like I'm a big reader. Like talk about the routines.
Yeah.
Like I get up early in the morning, I read, gym, sometimes journal. And
it's a good routine.
What I've learned, the perfectionism, it's akin to being like an alcoholic.
Oh, yeah.
It's an addiction.
Oh, absolutely.
Like being an alcoholic. And it's hard to break that addiction. Like, as you can see, well, they can't see the cameras, but you can see the cameras. Yeah. And I don't know how to break it. Like, I've tried.
Yeah.
For a long time, I did nothing but GoPros, actually.
Yep.
And, it would drive me nuts. The camera aficionados of the audience would be like, potato cam? Like, I'd see those comments.
Oh, okay.
And, hey, man, it's an open forum. The only comments that I delete are the ones where they're
just
disparaging,
mean.
like mean, yeah, that kind of stuff. But potato cam, like, I let it stay up there.
Yeah.
But it sits with me because, like, oh my God, like I'm trying to work through my addiction, and you're killing me here.
Yeah, no, my obsession, it's gotten better as I've forced myself to just deal with it. So I'll actually have practices where in the past, I kid you not, I would do a take 100 times.
Oh, I've done that.
100 times. And I would know because I'd go back on my iPhone because I did it, and I would just be like, I just had to delete, and it says, you've just deleted 100. So I knew it was a genuine 100. And I sat there and I said, this isn't healthy, and this is certainly not going to lead to success with this, because even if that perfect take finally came after the 101st, I just wasted an hour and a half doing that.
So what did you do to change it?
I forced myself to say, that's good enough. I know this sounds like impossible when you're caught in the perfectionist state, but I said I did take number 2, and did I get all the pieces of information? If I miss something, I have to do it again. But if I got the pieces of information there, even if my cadence wasn't right, my tone of voice wasn't perfect, I went, that's good enough, and I move on.
Has it changed? Like, have you gotten to the point where the takes are better?
Yeah, well, yeah, so that's a beautiful byproduct of this, is when you finally just go, it's good enough, you've gotten better in the process of just doing this longer, and your style is more developed. And so your second take may not have been perfect for you, but it's probably pretty good for the average person doing it. And so it just kind of naturally becomes something where, yeah, that take was good enough, but it was actually just good.
Let me tell you an interesting anecdote. As you know about my story, when I first came to LA, it was a major career switch. I was in tech for 15 years, and I came to do stand-up, came to get entertainment. Yeah. And at the time, I was dating this young lady who was an actress. So two thespians in a room. It's the beginning of a bad joke. And she was adamant that I take an acting class. And I'm like, what? I don't need an actor. I'm going up. I'm like I do with this. I do the reps. Yes. You're only as good as your routines. I was going up 5 nights a week. I was going Comedy Store, Ice House, Improv, that kind of stuff. And finally, she nagged me so much, and I go to the class. Who was the teacher? Jeffrey Tambor. Now, granted, a name that people would want to talk about now, but that's at the height of his star power. Yeah. And he was very much into giving back to the thespian community. So he taught this class, and it wasn't expensive at all. It was just, this is something he wanted to do for other folks. And this guy, if you ever seen him, he's a grumpy guy. He curses all the time. He's got a really sharp wit that he ties in with the grumpiness. And he opens the class with, here's the problem with all you effing lazy ass whatever. And he says, you're all perfectionists. You're all not willing to do it badly. Pull your head out of your asses and just be willing to do it badly. And at some point, you'll get better. And I'm sitting there in the class like I had literally climbed Mount Hebron and saw baby Jesus. Yeah. It was amazing. Yeah. Now, granted, there are times I get it, man. My producer, Joey, he has been the beneficiary of this because we've only had to do takes 20 times instead of 100 times. Yep. And in many cases, I'm getting these long takes now without even doing them a second time. Granted, not just because of be willing to do it badly, but this is the process that people don't see behind the scenes. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. Let's go into top 3 benefits of the life of reviewing cars. Yeah. Top 3 negatives.
Can I ask a qualifying question?
Yes, sir.
So top 3 benefits.
Can't phone a friend though.
Okay, darn it. I don't have a phone, so that's fine. Benefits of the way I review cars or the way you can review cars?
Let's do generic and then the way you do review cars.
Oh, okay.
I made it more difficult.
Okay, you did.
Come on, I'm Greek from New York. My job is to make your life difficult.
Okay, so in general, top 3 benefits if you love cars, which there are people in this industry who don't love cars, as you know, who do it.
It blows my mind.
It drives me nuts. I don't know how they create, that is a skill, genuinely, to be able to speak or write in a passionate way about something you have zero passion for. But if you love cars, you get to live with something that you admire and something you desire and something you get to experience without having spent any of your own money.
As a cheapskate, it's...
You've got a $150,000 M5 parked just outside the studio.
I do, 146.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. I just had the car and I thought it was 150 wrong.
Oh, and let's tell the audience, whose phone did I have to delete out of that car?
Yeah, that's why I don't have a phone anymore. Left it in there. You get to live with these cars without spending any of your own money, and it's incredible. Yeah. As an enthusiast, there is just no greater joy with cars. Another benefit, let's see. You get to set your own schedule, and this really depends. I guess if you're salaried, with a publication or something, they're going to tell you to work these hours or get these things done. But if you're a freelancer or if you have your own channel, you get to set your own hours. And whether your lifestyle is single and you want to go to the gym at 9 a.m. or whether you got kids and you have to take them to school at a certain hour, it's something you can't get in the corporate world. So I really love that. Third benefit.
Making you work here.
I know.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You're in LA County now. We got to step it up, step up the game.
thought those 2 benefits were so good. You want a third one? Let's see. I mean, if you do have a family like I do, then it's getting to watch not only your passion for the cars, but getting to just see the joy in your family's faces as they get to experience the cars. And it unlocks things for you. Like, that's why I was saying it's a cheat code, not just because it's more material, but it's like, I didn't think about that until my wife, who wasn't immersed in the car world, now is, but wasn't immersed at the time, went, well, this feature's dumb. And I go, it is dumb. You're right. They take it for granted because that's just in every car, but why is this feature here? You know, so it just kind of unlocks things for you. And I think that for me as a car enthusiast just is a discovery engine that I really treasure.
Okay, so 3 aspects that
are 2.5. That was a fringe one.
I'll give you that one.
Thank you.
Because you gave me the family thing. I look up to you. Like, when I grow up, I want to be you. Like, I literally have the mentality of a 3-year-old. I have a very impractical car. Like, I like to make my life difficult. I need to be like you at some point. So what are the 3 things that are positive about the way you do it?
The best part about what I do is I get to just have my normal life mingle with the video content I'm creating and have it be very natural. So if I need to go get groceries, I need to do that in my real life. But hey, now I get to show off the trunk space or the trunk storage options in this M5. It blends together so seamlessly, and it makes my life easier.
And how long does it take for you to film soup to nuts to film a video?
So I spread my day in the lives over at least 2 days, sometimes 3, or usually 3 is kind of the limit. At least with right now, where I have 2 cars a week. When I have the 1 car a week, that is the plan, it can be the whole week that I'll just, we're having an adventure today, that's just gonna be one thing I film. I'm going to the grocery store today, I'll have another thing. Right now, if I soup to nuts from prepping for the car, you mean that included, or shooting? Just shooting.
Just shooting.
Just shooting? Probably 8 hours.
Tell you what, I'll let you off. Let's go to 3 negatives about the life of reviewing cars.
Well, it has the capacity to dampen, at least, and I don't know someone who's had their passion completely killed for it, but it can dampen your enthusiasm for cars if you are, depending on your style of reviewing. But at least in the beginning, I was reviewing a car every single day, and you start to just go, I don't want to be around cars. Just anything else. Can we talk about working out? Can we talk about, well, as you should, can we talk about God? Can we talk about, important things? And you just don't want to spend any time with cars. I mean, even now, because I spend as much time with cars as I do, if someone's like, hey, there's a car show this weekend, it takes a lot for me to go, unless they're like a really cool segment of cars that I don't cover. If it's just new cars, no thanks. If it's like, we're gonna do old Volvos, I'm like, yeah, let's go check it out. Yeah. But you don't have necessarily the same level of excitement as someone who doesn't work with cars to go spend your free time with cars. So that's like one negative aspect. Another can be, it just exposes you, I suppose, to more risk of more accidents, or more. You're just spending more time in the car. You're spending more time in an environment where someone could run into you. And for guys like us who have experienced traumatic accidents, at least I'm doing it on 4 wheels. I say that, and I have a loan of a 3-wheeler right now. But typically I'm on 4 tires, and I've got a steel cage around me. But it does, I guess, expose you to a little more danger than the average person who just commutes to and from work.
All of us here at MotoMan are super excited to not only have the podcast back, but for it to be its own show. And there, we look to you for a little assistance. Can you help us grow the show? 2 really easy ways to do that. First and foremost, if you're reaching out via YouTube or other streaming platforms, you click on subscribe, notifications, or more importantly, share these episodes with your friends, especially on Reddit. Now, if you're downloading these episodes, listening via podcast platforms, we'd ask you to rate us. The good stars are wonderful, but leaving a written review would be even better, especially sharing who was your favorite guest. So with that, I am incredibly grateful for your assistance in help growing this. And now, back to the episode. At that point, I think I want to bring up a little bit here.
Good.
Over the past 5 years,
yeah.
I don't know if it's a California thing or the world has just gone crazy in the past 5 years, or the virus, whatever it was. I've had 2 or 3 very odd run-ins with people. I shoot on the same road. 2 or 3 very odd run-ins with people.
Okay.
And let's just say not safe. Like it makes me question how long I want to be going to that place and doing it this way.
Yeah.
Because people, there's something very odd with people.
Aggressive or so the run-ins I've had that probably are parallel is one person genuinely thought I was there to film them.
Oh, nothing like that. They were both, well, in 2 cases, they were cyclists, which as a runner, I already have a disdain for them. But these, let's just say their pants were too tight that day. And then I had another instance where 2 young kids thought it would be funny to throw a glass at me, and one had a really good arm. He this close from missing me. And I learned through chasing it down that they knew that even though I got their number plate, the cops weren't going to come after them. I've never had this in the 16 years I've been doing this. All this kind of stuff happened in the past, I want to say 2 years. Anyway, I've given you enough of a break. 2 more negatives.
Can I unpack those a little? Because that's wild. Like I've never had someone assault me or aggress
crazy
me.
situation, and I had one time the camera was running and the guy was coming after me on camera, and it's like, Chief, and then, there's, I don't know if I want to say this on camera, but let's just say that I don't think I want to talk about that part on camera.
Okay, well, I mean, the closest I've come to that is a guy, and this is why I don't film at this. It was a massive parking lot, and I was at the opposite side of the parking lot. But anyway, a guy came out who clearly had a rough week, year, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he works from home.
Yeah.
And I was in a Lamborghini. I don't rev, I don't burn, I don't do anything
you can't
dumb.
on those cars.
You just can't. The car was idling for 5 minutes while I was filming a segment, and the dude comes out in a rage.
Yeah.
I mean, and when I say come out, he came out from a house that was at least 300 yards away. Comes down and I see him coming for all that time till he gets over me, just huffing to yell at me for having the car idling for 5 minutes in a public parking lot. So that was one odd experience, but I was able to just go like, I'm sorry you're having a rough day. I'm working. This is my job. You have your job, try to de-escalate. But then the other time was a woman, as I mentioned, she genuinely thought I was there to film her. And I'm filming the car the entire time, and she's over there, and I never once look over at her, and she called the police.
Wow.
And the cops came and went and had a conversation with her, like, are you on something? Like, because like he came over to me and I'm like explaining what I'm doing again in a public parking lot, and he's like, yeah, that's fine. And he's like, what's her deal? And so he had a conversation with her about it. But it was so weird for me, because I'm like, it makes you question, like, is there something I'm doing to make other people feel unsafe?
Yeah.
And I came down to, no, there was nothing I was doing that was making this one feel unsafe, or, like.
In general, I've noticed this over the past 5 years. Like I had a run in an airplane with a guy that I didn't realize it until after the flight, and the crew pointed it out to me.
Yeah.
Whoever was going to sit in 21C was having a bad day. That guy had decided before he got on that plane, whoever was in 21C was having a bad day, and I was in 21C. I'm seeing it more and more. It's just when you're dealing with, like in the case of this thing where the guy came after me with the camera was running, it was an ST. Like, I got a $350,000 car. I'm in the middle of nowhere with no cell coverage. I can't do anything.
Yep.
And what if he gets a hold of me?
Yeah.
That's not a good thing.
Nope.
So it's an even more, you got to put more distance. I finally said to him, do you really want this to be on camera? And that's the only thing that calmed him down.
Interesting.
I had another guy, again, a cyclist. I'm going to teach you a lesson, he says. He comes up to me, he throws his water bottle on me. And the only thing I could do was, have a nice day, sir. You should go, sir.
Yeah.
Every time he kept on talking, you should go, sir. You should go, sir.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't really expect to get into this part of the whole thing.
No, but that's what we have to do, because it isn't worth it. It just isn't worth it for us to get involved with anything like that.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't think it's what God wants us to do.
Absolutely not.
So in both those situations, I just go, I disagree with what you're saying, but I am not going to, return fire, if you will.
And that's all you can do.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. Okay, so now let's switch gears, get something more positive.
Yeah.
How did your wife get into reviewing cars?
So this was COVID, and she was an elementary school teacher, had been for 5 years, and I just knew her to be incredibly funny, and
She is funnier than you.
she's genuinely funnier than me.
She is.
And it's hard to keep up, but I try, I endeavor. But yeah, I just knew her to be funny, and like I'm just like, you belong on camera in some capacity, because she'd made like home videos and stuff, and I just laughed my head off. She loved dressing up, like she would dress up as the Grinch every year, and I mean sell it. She would sell the heck out of that character, and I'm just like, why there are no women doing that specifically in short form at the time. They're women car reviewers, of course, but they're kind of stuck in the long form, trying to do everything that the men are doing. And I was like, there are no women doing this. And especially when we were kind of having the conversation about kids, I was like, there just aren't many moms doing this. Like, why don't you just try to make some TikToks? TikTok was kind of emerging at that time. And she said, sure, why not? Because she had like opinions about the cars that I was reviewing, and I thought they were compelling. And I said, you need to share those and be funny, be yourself. And she did. And she just like kind of took off on TikTok.
She did.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of amazing, and how, like, what bowls me over is how good she is at it. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like she's more, I don't want to say more of a natural than you.
Oh, she's definitely more of a natural. You were talking before about routines and stuff.
Yeah.
I had to work so hard to get to be at least adequate at doing this. Seriously. And she just like, picked it
Let
right
me go
up.
back a little bit. Something I forgot to ask about.
Yeah.
JF. Huge amount of respect for this guy. People don't really know who JF is. JF,
He's a big player that doesn't have a big name unless you're in the world. Yeah.
he invented the drive, the original drive. He basically, I think, plucked Chris Harris from being a car journalist to being Chris Harris. Chris did the heavy lifting, but it's JF that said, I think this guy's got the talent.
Chris had the talent. JF recognized it.
He put together like Chris and Matt and those guys. And JF has an incredible talent in storytelling.
Yes.
Has he impacted you at all? He said, hey, Miles, you should do this, that, or the other thing?
It's funny. We had a chat like 2 days ago. He was just texting me, hey, it's been a while since we caught up. Like, what are you working on? We caught up, and we were talking Porsches and things that he's working on with that brand. He said, hey, I think maybe there's something you could do with Porsche, this, that, or the other thing. He's still a part of my life, and he's still an influence on me, and I still have tremendous respect for what he's done with his company, Tangent Vector. That has grown tremendously.
It's amazing what he's grown.
I was there. It was funny. When I was writing the scripts for the show, he had me look at his first draft of Tangent Vector's website. And this is me as a college student, and I was an English major for at least part of my college career, and so I said, yeah, I'll take a look, and I pointed out some things that he could fix, like grammatically, or I think if you brought this more forward in the site or whatever. But like, I just remember that, and I laughed because like, he's just a massive success right now. Again, in not the public-facing way, just in the B2B space within the car world.
If you guys have seen like Porsche videos, like when they introduce the cars, the model by model,
Yep.
that's JF.
Does a ton of brain work now. He does some dealer side stuff, but like you said, his work is about
Wasn't he
telling.
involved with the Haggerty people?
I don't know. I don't know if he did Haggerty stuff. I don't think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, every other big automotive or even aerospace project, he's kind of had his hands on recently.
Okay, so let's switch gears. Something that's more germane to just you and I.
Mm-hmm.
What role does faith have in this whole journey of yours? Meaning just the car reviewing part.
Yeah, everything. I check in with God about every decision I want to make regarding my content. It's not necessarily about the mundanity of hey God, should I cut this take or whatever? But if it's anything that I'm thinking about for direction, the decision to kind of do more vloggy stuff, lifestyle, I prayed extensively about that. I felt his leading for starting this. I felt his leading it many times. And I feel like he's brought me to this place with Christina, with my family, that is showing me success, but also like keeping everything within the right perspective. So I'm not chasing success doing this. I am endeavoring to live a life that is honoring to him and live a life that is exemplary of Christ's characteristics as much as possible. The interactions with difficult people, whenever I get to talk to someone who likes my content, I try to bring enthusiasm, not because I'm successful in doing this, in any measure of success, but just because I am blessed to be able to do this. And I try to share that with people as much as possible and remind them, like, my success is not my own. This is from God.
So that last statement, I think, is most telling in that from the outside looking in, one of the things that stands out about your stuff to me, and now that you've roped in your wife and your children, you are providing value to others that no one, in a way, no one else is doing. And I think that is, at least for me, just some feedback here, that to me is the Miles brand. There is something about what you're doing where you're having fun with it, yes, but you're also telling the story a different way through cameras, yes. But I'm able to go on that journey with you from a minivan to a Ferrari. That's very unique.
It's kind of you to say. Most of the time, I'm not aware that I'm doing something like that. To your point, I kind of am just trying to have fun with it. But
yeah.
I mean, people have told me in comments that I got some value out of this. You helped make a purchase decision. But I don't think I internalize that very much. I kind of just go, that's great. I'm just trying to tell a good story. But I'm glad that it's bringing value to you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Very kind words.
Well, I mean, that's what I see. I mean, I got to tell you, you look at people. You know, I'm very involved with my church, as you know, and involved with the scholarship that we do. And we look at, it's not just what are your grades? Right. It's where did you start and where are you right now? And everyone we measure by the same thing. Okay, so where were you when we first got to know you through Sunday school, and where did you go to here? And we're not the ones doing it. We farm it out to Loyal and Marymount. They're the ones that do it.
Okay.
And if I were to do the same, like, analyses of the landscape of car reviewers in, at least that I know,
yeah,
and I know a lot of them, your journey is much farther traveled than most others, because you started kind of like, this is what everybody does, yeah. And now I got my own thing, my own island over here where it's nice and warm over here, and I got my wife over here, and I got my kids, and we're all part of the whole deal, and it's amazing.
Thank you. The journey from here to here, certainly all I can say was that wasn't ever anything that I could have planned or even hoped for. I tried the perfectionist method to make this into that.
Yeah.
But if I had done that, if I had forced it into, worked hard to just kind of make this, even what this would have been wouldn't have been as good as this. And that's because I genuinely believe this. It's because I yielded that to God.
I think you have proven that that this is more about faith than anything else.
I hope so. That would be, if I want any sort of legacy, it's that I can say that I tried to make my life one that is God-led, not Miles-led.
And was this a thing that came from growing up here, or is it something you found on your own?
I grew up in the church, but faith didn't really genuinely become my own until my accident.
You definitely have a come to Jesus moment when you see the front of a Tesla.
Yeah.
Or in your case, whatever the kind of car it was.
I don't know, because I don't remember 2 weeks starting from the accident.
Did you know that the woman who hit me, she went to my church? I'm friends with her now.
We talked about this during our episode, and I was floored by that information.
She's lovely. Like, I wish she had, like, she runs the Greek dance, and I run the Dave Ramsey class. I wish she had just come to my class and sat there. And
we had a long and important conversation about forgiveness.
We did.
From that.
We did.
That still sticks with me. I still think about forgiveness, not because I genuinely believed in forgiveness, and I got to experience that. I fully forgave the woman who hit me and did all that stuff. It was more your perspective on it, the way you characterized it, I thought was powerful.
I think we should bring it up here again. Do you remember it?
Yes.
Okay, so why don't you paraphrase, because I'd love to share it with this audience.
The biggest little biggest little, that's oxymoronic. The tidbit that sticks with me most is when you said that forgiveness is not about them forgiving them. It's all about what it does for you.
Changes you on the inside.
Changes you, and not in a selfish way, because that you could take that statement and go, oh, well, then selfish. No, it's really about releasing anything you feel you're entitled to by going, I'm going to forgive because God wants me to forgive, and I know there's a much greater thing he can do in me by me choosing to forgive, instead of waiting for that woman or that person to apologize, and then I forgive because that's happened. No. The good work can start the moment you choose to forgive.
You don't realize how important that is until you actually do it.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you from experience, there was a way I was like mad at the world or mad at this guy.
Yep.
This guy did this,
Yep.
And then once I figured it out, it transformed, made life just so much easier.
You're holding yourself back when you think A, B, or C needs to happen before you can forgive. You think, oh, those things need to happen, and then I'll choose to forgive. No, when you choose to forgive, then it unlocks the good work that can start happening in you.
It goes hand in hand with another. I think this is old scripture, is rest and let a solution occur. That's a big thing. I was doing that actually before the forgiveness thing. And that started to work really well, and that's kind of what led the ball to drop on I don't want to be the one that's frustrated or angry or whatever it is about it. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit.
Sure.
That's a hard transition there. What are some things you're excited about? It could be cars, could be industry changes.
Oh gosh, the industry there's so many things going on right now. I mean, you saw the news, tariffs coming for cars. It's not like we've never seen tariffs applied to non-domestic vehicles before, but obviously that's going to jack up the prices of cars. Things are going to become more expensive. I was sitting there thinking, okay, does that mean people are not going to be searching for new cars as much because they're going to think, oh, this is too expensive, I'm not going to buy. But I mean, maybe this is just dumb optimism, but I'm thinking, okay, now I'm focused on the story I'm telling. I hope that I'm almost unaffected by how positive people are about the car industry or not, because I want people to be interested in the story, not as much in the car. So I'm excited because I still get to review cars, and I'm not worried, not because, let me step back. It's not even just that I'm more hopeful that people are interested in the story. I trust that whatever God's going to do in this is going to be good. But within the content I'm creating, I'm excited that I'm going to continue to work on telling a good story regardless of what's going on in the car world, regardless if we go all EVs, which it seems like we're going backwards on that now, regardless if cars are just getting more and more expensive. I get to just make a good story, or what I think is a good story, and hope that the views continue.
So are there cars you're excited about?
Yes. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I like EVs. I'm excited about EVs blending with enthusiast interests more. Manual transmissions in EVs. I mean, the Ioniq 5N was my first experience of an electric vehicle that had enthusiast DNA in it.
It blows my mind that that works. I thought it was a gimmick rolling into it, and I was blown away.
Same. And I drove the car, and I was like, I had so much fun.
So much fun.
That got me excited about enthusiast electric vehicles. So I am genuinely excited for what those are.
Let me give you a counterpoint, though.
Okay.
BMW i4 eDrive 40, the crappy one.
Okay.
Not the engagement, the Ioniq 5N.
Yep.
But up until that point, it was the best driving EV, even better than the Taycan, for only one reason. It is the only EV you could steer with your right foot.
Okay.
It was like a BMW from back in the day. The thin
Tesla
steering
tried
wheel.
that, with the transfer of power to the rear and whatever. But yeah, you're right. Like it was something you could actually use throttle to.
It was a great. It still is. I mean, it still is a great car.
Yeah. Throttle, accelerator, whatever.
Refresh my memory. I know you own the Demon. Do you have a regular car that you own, you and the wife?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a 1994 Toyota Land Cruiser.
Of course you do.
which was a regular car until the prices for those kept going up. Yeah, still a regular car.
Oh, so you had it way back.
I've had it for 8 years now. So I mean, it'll still be a regular car. My kids will drive it. I'm never gonna sell it. And then I've got a Miata race car that is not street legal. So, but yeah, those are the only two vehicles, the Demon and the Land Cruiser.
So if you weren't doing this, what would be your daily? Land Cruiser and Demon are not the answer.
If I could afford it, M340i.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And yes, you can afford it.
Okay, then yeah, that
I
would
know
be
you
that.
can afford it.
It'd be that.
Why would you want an EV?
I don't think I'd ever really want an EV if it was my only car.
Why is that?
I just am not confident in the grid at this point. Not that it's not going to be able to handle, that's a whole other story, but just the way our infrastructure is established. Even if you have a Tesla now that Tesla has opened the doors to all these other, you're waiting forever. Chargers are down. I have never been able to take a trip where I relied on a charger and had a smooth experience. Something has gone wrong every time. So I would not want it to be my only car, and therefore if something happened, if I didn't have enough charge.
So more from a long distance perspective, around town you'd be fine.
Around town,
you
I'm
own your
fine.
house, you got a charger in the house and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I mean, like if it's an emergency, I guess there's Uber, right? But
Yeah.
you're still waiting time for them to get there.
Goes back to routines.
Yeah.
If you're disturbing your routines,
Yep.
it's going to impact the whole productivity.
Yeah, so I mean, if it was my only car, I wouldn't be excited about an EV, but there are a lot of exciting EVs that I would love as a secondary car. Or not a secondary, it could be my primary, but I have something that's burning gas or diesel that's there if I need it. Yeah. If I could keep the Land Cruiser, sure, I'll have a daily driver EV.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna close this out by asking you the tough question.
It's been easy so far?
Touche. I'm impressed. So you can see why I like this guy. 3 aspects that have led to your success. Now, granted, everyone knows you're going to say God, so I'm going to pull that one out of it.
Darn it.
Not giving you the gimme.
Okay.
3 aspects that have led to the success of MilesPerHr.
Very initially, observation. So I looked around at the content that was being made. I can have some good ideas of my own, I can, but I am not really the idea guy. I am the potential guy. I'm the guy who sees potential in something and goes, oh, you should capitalize on that. So initially it was observation. I observed that POV had a ton of potential and it was just not really tapped at this point, or at the point. Now POV is everywhere, and especially with like the Ray-Ban metas and stuff, everyone's trying to make POV content. I had that lead on that because I saw POV that Topher was doing. I was like, one, yeah, I didn't have the idea, but I think I could do this even better. Or I'm going to bring my own perspective to the POV and have that kind of like become my brand. So it was observation. And then, I mean, we've talked about it already, but just like, you got to be willing to put in the hours. I mean, I couldn't force myself. I genuinely believe this. I believe that God allowed the success I've had, but I couldn't force myself there. But when God said, hey, do this, I went and did that with every part of me. I put out a video every day for 2 years. I edited my own content. I spent the hours, and I still spend the hours trying to refine it now. Now it's not so much quantity, but quality, but you still have to put in the effort. If you think that just having talent or having a good idea is going to give you success alone, it's probably not. People can get lucky, sure, but that's 1 in a million. For the vast majority of people, you have to be able to put in the hours. So I was able to put in the hours and I continued to do so. So that's been a contributor.
One more.
I think this could just be kind of differentiation. No, I said it already, but I want to have this be its own little bullet point. Continual improvement. So one thing I've learned about, we want to call it the algorithm. My friend who does YouTube was also like, hey, you don't call it the algorithm, call it the audience. People, algorithm, whatever, get bored with the same thing over and over again. And that's hard for me because I'm a routine guy. So I go, hey, this works. Let's just do that forever. No, people are going to get bored. So I continue to look all the time for ways to improve the content I'm already making. It can be little tweaks here and there. And I know Mr. Beast has said this as well, but it's true. It's like you just have to look for little ways you can make it better and better and better and better, or like change this, change that, just for a different flavor to what you're already doing. And those things all together really, I do believe, help contribute a lot.
That last point is interesting. So I told you I read a lot.
Yeah.
And I recently read a book about this this investor guy. And his whole strategy is being on TikTok. So he's like you. He's very family focused. He wants to, he works during the day, but he wants to spend time with his kids, his young kids as they're growing up, spends time with his wife. And then when he puts the kids to bed, from 11 p.m. to like 2 a.m. every day, he's on TikTok. Why? Because he's looking for people's comments to specific videos to see what people are responding to. And then he goes and he looks at, well, what's happening with that product. And then he goes and invests in the company that owns the product, 70% return for like the past 5 years.
Jeez.
It's incredible. Like he bought, there was something going on with Elmer's glue.
Okay.
And Elmer's glue is a calcified industry. Like the company that owns it is a packaged goods company. They don't move like 10 points on their stock. This guy went and invested and got a crazy return because he saw some connection with Elmer's glue. So exactly what you're doing.
Wow.
But he's doing it with investments based on TikTok. Just comments on TikTok.
I wish I had the patience for something like that. And man, you've just told people how to make a lot of money. But I wish I had the patience for that.
You know what?
Yeah.
Most people, you could literally spell it out for them, they won't do it. Because the other thing you talked about, you put in the reps.
Yeah.
Your number 2 was, I did the work.
Yeah, but see, this is my deficiency. I mean, we talked very early in our conversation about people who do this, who are in the car world but don't love cars. I still require a little bit of passion for what I'm working on to get the most out of it.
Everything I've done,
I can't, from the 11 to 2 hour, I would go numb. I'm just so bored, right? That I couldn't make the money in doing that. That's my deficiency.
Okay, sir, on that note, as much as I would love to continue to chat with you about all sorts of ways of investing and reviewing cars, I'm going to let you go back to Orange County because I know you have a demon to shoot.
I do.
I want to thank you for being the first ever guest.
I am honored.
In our new podcast studio.
I really am. This is such a cool place.
I got to tell you, I not only am thankful for that, I'm thankful for your friendship, and I have learned a lot from you over the years, and that means a lot to me.
Same.
And I think the audience can learn a lot from you as well. Where can they find you?
So I'm just at MilesPerHr on Instagram, TikTok, and then also YouTube.
Okay. If you guys want to see how to the proper way to go through most drive-thrus in Orange County, this is your man. On that note, sir, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jared. This is awesome.